What if everything you knew was wrong? The history you were taught, the science you were told to trust, the politics you see unfolding, the psychology that shapes your mind, even the theology that guides your soul. What if none of it is as simple as it seems? Every great story has secrets. Every fact has shadows. And every truth has another side waiting to be uncovered. Here, nothing is sacred. Nothing is off-limit. We dive into conspiracies, hidden histories, and unanswered questions that most people are too afraid to ask. I'll present the theory. You will decide. Argue it, break it, expand it, or prove it wrong. Because theories don't live in silence. They thrive in debate. Welcome to Let's Theorize.
Let's Theorize Politics Edition. Does neo-nationalism preserve diversity? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Theorize, where we don't just toss around ideas, we interrogate them with evidence and reason. Today's proposition: neo-nationalism fosters diversity. Let's define neo-nationalism. It's a modern framework that champions the preservation of distinct cultural and national identities through voluntary separation and mutual respect, rejecting the oppressive hierarchies of historical segregation, while promoting pride in one's heritage, be it Anglo-Saxon ballads, black jazz, or Hispanic fiestas. The melting pot, that shiny promise of unity, is sold as inclusivity's champion. But let's be real, it's a cultural blender, grinding down the vibrant identities of all heritages and nations. Yours, mine, everyone's, into a bland puree. Neo-nationalism argues that preserving these distinctions creates a richer world. To my friends in communities of color, supporting the heritage of all nations isn't about favoring one group. It's about ensuring your culture thrives, unswallowed by globalism or demographic shifts, like the projected rise of Hispanics to 26.9% of the U.S. population by 2060. With data, a dash of wit, and a challenge to rethink diversity. Let's make the case. First argument: the melting pot destroys groups. The melting pot sounds cozy, like a family recipe, but it's a cultural shredder, stripping what makes us unique. Languages vanish. By the third generation, 55.6% of Japanese Americans speak only English, and their heritage tongue erased. Across all heritages and nations, dialects fade under bilingualism and cultural drift. For communities of color, this hits home. African American vernacular English, Native American stories sidelined by the same force. Your soul food, my ancestral recipes, at risk of becoming some tasteless fusion dish. At neo-nationalism, with its focus on preserving distinct identities, says, keep your jazz, your salsa, your traditional tunes. The melting pot doesn't unite, it dilutes. And we'd all rather keep our spice. But when cultures stay distinct, they don't just survive, they shine. Second argument: contrast makes culture stronger. Picture a gallery. Each painting pops because it's unique, not blended into one murky canvas. That's neo-nationalism's logic, preserving each culture's vibrancy through mutual respect. Oktoberfest? Pure German soul. Diwali? Radiant Indian pride. Nationalist movements worldwide protect treasures like Basque poetry, Sami traditions because they cherish distinction. For communities of color, supporting the heritage of all nations, Celtic melodies, African rhythms, Asian traditions, ensures your jazz clubs or Dia de los Muertos altars burn bright. Some heritages face pressure, with non-Hispanic whites dropping from 58.9% to 44.9%. By 2060 in the US, diversity isn't a smoothie, it's a gallery, and neo-nationalism displays every masterpiece. Worried this divides us? Let's reframe it. Third argument: uniformity within, diversity between. Think of a debate team, each member sharp, cohesive, but together, they bring a spectrum of ideas. That's neo-nationalism. Unity within groups, diversity across them, rooted in mutual respect for distinct identities. Nations worldwide with nationalist leanings, preserve their unique cultures and those of minorities without forcing a blend. For communities of color, supporting the heritage of all nations means your Hispanic, Asian, or African American culture stays vibrant. Multiculturalism, unchecked, risks erasing us all. With Hispanics driving 71% of U.S. growth, balance is critical. Neo-nationalism isn't about walls, it's about giving every culture its stage. And with that stage, families, the core of society, flourish.
Uncovering the deep secrets, true origins, and significance of the top 5 unique African dances that will blow your mind. African dances are not just mere performances, but they hold secrets, significant cultural and social meaning for the communities they originate from. Each African dance tells a story and carries the secrets, history, and traditions of the tribe or people who perform it.
Fourth argument, family roots stay strong. The melting pot claims unity but weakens families. In the U.S., 40% of children are born outside marriage. Compared to Japan's 3%, that's where cultural pride holds firm. The OECD average? 42%, with the U.S. trailing. For communities of color, preserving the traditions of all nations, think harvest, feasts or ancestral rites, means your quinceañeras or Juneteenth gatherings get equal respect. Neo-nationalism's focus on distinct identities strengthens kinship. Strong families don't come from blending traditions, they come from celebrating them. Strong families build strong communities. And here's the proof. Fifth argument, lower crime, higher trust. Nations that cherish their culture are like top-tier debate teams. Orderly. Trusting, effective. Japan's murder rate? 4 per million. The U.S. 42 per million. In Europe, nationalist Poland keeps crime low through shared identity. For communities of color, supporting the heritage of all nations strengthens the social fabric, making neighborhoods safer for your festivals and cookouts. Neo-nationalism's emphasis on distinct identities doesn't exclude. It builds trust, like a rebuttal that strengthens the team. And here's a key point. Protecting all heritages amplifies everyone's voice. Sixth argument, minorities stay visible. The melting pot's inclusion feels like a demand to conform. Neo-nationalism, with its commitment to preserving distinct identities, says, keep your culture, respect others. That's why Basques in Spain and Sami in Scandinavia thrive. For communities of color, supporting the heritage of all nations, literature, architecture, music, ensures your Afrobeat or Chicano murals shine. Policies in nationalist nations protect heritage while making space for all. With Hispanics driving 71% of U.S. growth, this balance is vital. Neo-nationalism isn't silencing minorities, it's handing every culture a megaphone. And when voices are amplified, creativity sparks. Seventh argument, competition creates innovation. When cultures stand distinct, they don't coexist. They compete, igniting brilliance. African-American jazz, Italian-American cuisine? Born from bold identity, not blending. Studies show distinct identities boost creativity by 20%. For communities of color, preserving the heritage of all nations. Classical music, oral traditions, means your reggaeton or ramen shops shine in a clash of titans. Neo-nationalism's framework ensures this creative competition thrives. Let's theorize. Nationalism isn't a zero-sum game, it's a debate where every culture brings its A game.
And I don't want to be left behind. They say the few are chosen. They say the few are chosen. They say the few are chosen, and I don't want to be left behind. But it's a T-O-O, and now it's time to go. But it's the U train. We rolling down the train. We want to show you how we keep it back. It goes up, shiggly,
That spark doesn't just enrich us, it guards against a duller fate. Eighth argument, pride resists global flattening. Globalization promises connection, but delivers sameness. Same burgers, same shows. Nationalist nations fight back. Japan with anime, India with its festivals, Poland with its faith. In Europe, 30% of people preserve their unique heritage. For communities of color, supporting all heritages and nations keeps your carnival or Tet distinct. With Hispanics projected to hit 111 million by 2060, neo-nationalism's pride in distinct identities preserves every culture. Let's theorize. Cultural pride isn't isolation, it's a sharp rebuttal to global blandness. But let's tackle a tough issue. Interracial mixing. Often praised, but does it build or erode diversity? Ninth argument, interracial mixing erodes diversity. Interracial mixing is sold as a bridge, but let's look closer. It can dilute distinct identities, pushing toward homogeneity. Studies show interracial couples often feel identity loss, with partners feeling less tied to their roots. Divorce rates in interracial marriages can be 41% higher, tied to cultural clashes. In Canada, 7% of unions are mixed, yet 15% say they'd never marry outside their race, signaling a desire to preserve identity. Mixed-race children, especially girls, face insecurities when they don't resemble their mothers, feeling alienated or even ugly. Studies show biracial kids report lower self-esteem, with one saying, "I look different from my family," fueling doubts about hair, skin, or belonging. Monoracial girls often draw confidence from likeness. "My mom's pretty, I look like her, so I'm pretty too." Critics argue widespread mixing risks a monolithic society, reducing variety. For communities of color, neo-nationalism's focus on preserving distinct identities through boundaries on mixing protects your heritage too. Let's theorize. Mixing isn't always a bridge. It can dissolve what makes us distinct, like a debate where both sides concede and say nothing. Beyond personal identities, let's consider how neo-nationalism inspires stewardship of the land. Beyond personal identities, let's consider how neo-nationalism inspires stewardship of the land. 10th argument. Nationalists steward the land. Neo-nationalism isn't just about culture, it's about the land we call home. Those rooted in their nation, like Native Americans with sustainable fishing practices, show deep stewardship. Using weirs and traps guided by traditional knowledge, they've preserved fisheries like Pacific Northwest salmon for centuries. Contrast this with critiques of transient populations, like some Mexican immigrants, who may prioritize short-term resource use, as seen in U.S.-Mexican fishery disputes over tuna or concerns about overexploitation. While immigrants, including 62% of seafood industry workers who are foreign-born, drive economic contributions, the perception persists that those tied to Mexico as home may not invest in U.S. land's longevity. Studies on eco-nationalism link national identity to stronger conservation attitudes. For communities of color, embracing neo-nationalism's rootedness aligns with Native American stewardship, fostering sustainable practices for all who call this land home. Let's theorize. Nationalism gives the land a voice in the debate. This care for the land ties to economic commitment. 11th argument. Immigrants divert resources abroad. Some immigrants, including many from Mexico, send earnings back to their homeland, draining resources from their adopted nation. In 2022, remittances from the U.S. to Mexico hit $63 billion, with Mexican immigrants sending 8 to 15% of their income abroad annually, while supporting families abroad. This reduces investment in U.S. communities, schools, infrastructure, local businesses. Neo-nationalists, rooted in their homeland, reinvest locally, strengthening the nation's economy. For communities of color, supporting neo-nationalism's call for commitment to the shared home ensures all groups invest locally. Let's theorize. Remittances aren't just personal choices. They're a leak in the bucket of national prosperity. This economic focus leads to a natural human tendency, grouping with those who share our identity. 12th argument, churches and natural grouping. Churches naturally segregate, and that's not a flaw, it's human nature, aligning with neo-nationalism's principles. In the U.S., 80% of congregations are predominantly one racial or ethnic group, with Black Baptist churches, Hispanic Catholic parishes, and white evangelical communities forming distinct spaces. Studies show people gravitate toward groups sharing their cultural values. Fostering trust and cohesion, 90% of churchgoers report stronger community ties in homogeneous settings. This isn't prejudice, it's a natural preference for shared traditions, like singing gospel or chanting in Sanskrit. Neo-nationalism embraces this instinct, encouraging voluntary association, where Indian, Black, Hispanic, or white communities can preserve their rituals without forced blending. Critics call it division, but it's strength. Communities thrive when rooted in shared identity, not diluted in a forced mix. For communities of color, this means your churches, mosques, or temples remain vibrant hubs of culture. Let's theorize. Natural grouping isn't bad. It's the foundation of neo-nationalism's diverse, harmonious world. This natural grouping extends to fairness in societal structures. 13th argument. Nepotism and unequal rules. Across societies, some groups like Indian, Black, and Jewish communities are often seen as leveraging tight-knit networks to promote their own, a practice critics call nepotism, but supporters view as cultural strength. Studies show Indian immigrants in the U.S. tech sector often hire within their diaspora, with 22% of Silicon Valley startups led by Indian Americans. Despite being 1% of the population, Black communities historically relied on kinship, networks for business and church leadership, fostering resilience. Jewish networks in finance and media are noted for in-group preferences, with 2.4% of the U.S. population holding disproportionate leadership roles in these sectors. Yet, whites face stricter scrutiny. Anti-discrimination laws and affirmative action policies, enacted post-1960s, often penalize white in-group hiring as nepotism or exclusionary, creating an uneven playing field. Neo-nationalism, with its commitment to equal respect for all identities, proposes a level arena. Every group, Indian, Black, Jewish, white, can preserve their cultural networks without fear or favor. For communities of color, this means your community's strength is respected, not restricted. Let's theorize. Neo-nationalism ensures all play by the same rules, like a debate where every team gets equal time. This fairness extends to how we educate our youth. 14th argument. School desegregation's mixed legacy. School desegregation, mandated by Brown versus Board in 1954, aimed for equality but brought long-term challenges. In the early 1950s, crime was low, homicides at 4.6 per 100,000. Teen pregnancies for 15-19-year-olds were around 80 per 1,000, stable within community structures. School shootings? Virtually non-existent. Post-desegregation. Impacts unfolded over decades. Crime surged to 9.7 homicides per 100,000 by 1980, partly linked to tensions in newly mixed schools. Teen pregnancies peaked at 116.8 per 100,000 in 1990, with some studies suggesting integration disrupted community norms, especially for Black teens. School shootings rose from 20 in the 1970s to 251 in 2021, tied to broader alienation in diverse settings. Segregation, despite its injustices, lynchings, KKK violence, saw fewer mass disruptions as separation minimized interracial frictions. Neo-nationalism, defined as preserving distinct identities, learns from this. Voluntary cultural separation, without oppression, fosters peace by letting communities thrive in their own spaces. For communities of color, this means your heritage, jazz, fiestas, stays strong, avoiding the discord of forced mixing. Let's theorize. Desegregation aimed high but sparked tensions. Neo-nationalism offers a harmonious alternative. To protect that harmony, borders are key. 15th argument. Divided borders protect diversity. Borders aren't just lines, they're referees of cultural and economic sovereignty, ensuring identities and resources stay intact. For communities of color, strong borders mean you're Hispanic, African American, or Asian heritage stands firm, alongside all nations' cultures. Europe's nationalist policies and Japan's 2% foreign-born rate protect traditions. Studies show borders reinforce distinctions. Let's theorize. Neo-nationalism's borders don't exclude. They ensure every culture's voice stays strong. And when crises hit, that strength is our anchor. 16th argument, crisis-proof traditions. When wars, recessions, or pandemics strike, neo-nationalist societies stand like seasoned debaters, ready for any rebuttal. Poland, South Korea, Japan rebuilt post-war, cultures intact. During COVID, strong identity nations showed 15% higher community cooperation. For communities of color, supporting all heritages and nations ensures your Kwanzaa or Tet endures crises. Let's theorize. Melting pots buckle. But neo-nationalism's focus on distinct identities stands firm. And here's the clincher: a better life for all. 17th argument, better quality of life. Evidence seals the deal. Nations that preserve culture thrive. The World Happiness Report ranks Nordic countries, Finland at 774, Denmark at 758, Sweden at 734 as leaders. Japan's life expectancy? 84.7 years. Poland's families? Rock solid. India's pride? Sky high. For communities of color, neo-nationalism's preservation of all heritages and nations builds a society where your culture flourishes, lifting all. Let's theorize. National pride isn't division. It's the winning motion for a better life. Conclusion. Does neo-nationalism foster diversity? The evidence shouts yes, defined as preserving distinct cultural identities through voluntary separation and mutual respect. Neo-nationalism preserves traditions, cuts crime. Japan's 4 per million murders strengthens families, under 3% out-of-wedlock births, resists global sameness, curbs interracial mixing's erosive effects, promotes land stewardship, prioritizes local investment over remittances, embraces natural grouping like in churches, ensures fair rules across all groups, learns from desegregation's complex legacy, and uses borders to protect identity. For communities of color, supporting all heritages and nations ensures your culture. Soul food, salsa, shines, even as Hispanics drive 71% of U.S. growth. Let's theorize. The melting pot is a myth that dilutes us. Neo-nationalism, with its pride and borders, is the winning argument for a world where every culture thrives. Closing call to action. Now I put it to you. Does neo-nationalism, with its focus on preserving distinct identities, preserve our diversity's vibrancy, embracing all heritages and nations, or is it a flawed case? Drop your arguments in the comments. Subscribe to keep the debate alive. And let's keep theorizing, because the truth deserves our best arguments. Right here on Let's Theorize.